Hello, everybody. Welcome to this session about emotional intelligence. We were going to talk about what is emotional intelligence, to be intelligent emotionally. How many of you have you heard about this? How many of you before?
Maybe
a little bit.
A little bit. Okay. So this, well, we have only 1 hour, so it will be just an introduction. In Liverpool, I used to do a course about this that lasted like 3 days, I guess, I remember, or 4, depending of the session of the edition. But today is going to be just like an introduction, but we are going to review some basic concepts and interesting concepts, in my opinion. So the emotional intelligence consists of 2 main areas. That is the intrapersonal intelligence, that is the intelligence about me, about myself, and then the interpersonal intelligence, that is the dealing with other people. All right. So first of all, it's very good to work on this, and if you are very good on this becomes easier. So intrapersonal intelligence consists of self-awareness, so is to know how you are feeling. So the first step is to understand you, how you work internally, and then once you know well, you can have emotional control, self-regulation. So you can control your emotions in some way. Well, we are going to talk about that. Is more than control to your emotions, because the emotions are spontaneous, usually something that comes, like maybe somebody gives you a surprise, not this is an emotion, no? Or maybe when your Liverpool or your favorite football team, Real Madrid, scores the goal, joy, or maybe you are sad if something bad happens. So that is quick, but is where we work. There's more. It's a better idea to work on moods, because that is something that lasts more, okay? And that is something that you can control, all right? And then interpersonal intelligence, that first of all is empathy. That means to understand the other person like if you were in their shoes. So that is, sometimes it's not easy, because we don't come through the same things that other people have come through usually. But if you have, for example, you have had in your life difficult moments, in some kind, you can better understand other people who have coming through difficult moments. Okay. And then social skills, that is like, for example, to have influence over other people, leadership, communication, team building, team leadership skills, etc. And finally, something that is for both, the motivation. You can motivate yourself, or you can motivate other people. All right. So this is the big picture of the emotional intelligence. So we are going to start from working with us. So for that, I suppose you know about this, but just briefly, I will remind you that our brain consists of 3 brains. The reptilian brain, the oldest one, that is only regulates the main things that we need to survive. For example, the breathing, walking, and also is responsible when something happens in your life, like the fly or flight, fight or fly, right?
Fight or flight.
Fight, flight, or fright.
Yeah. So before you start thinking with your rational brain about anything, that this brain works, and because imagine there is, I should turn off this voice, all right? Okay. So before you take any decision, that takes longer time. This takes 500 is quicker, 500 times quicker than our rational brain. And then our emotional brain that is also quite quicker than our rational brain, like 50 times quicker. So when we think that we take a decision rationally, usually what we do is we take the decision emotionally, and then we justify with some reasons after. But usually the emotional brain takes the decision before the rational brain. Well, we the humans have the ability to be rational, so that we can maybe not at that same moment, but after we can like think well twice the things. So we have that advantage. And then finally the neocortex, that is the called rational brain or thinking brain. Let's go ahead. But yeah, usually we think we are rational beings, but actually we move a lot by emotions and by survival also. So the emotions, there are different classifications, like they're slightly different, but more or less this is the main emotions. Happiness or joy, the film Inside Out from Disney, right? So some of these characters are the same that these emotions. So happiness or joy, surprise, sadness, contempt, that is disgust, like something, anger, and fear. And well, actually you can kind of classify all of them in just two, like higher vibration and lower vibration. Higher vibration, the higher you vibrate, you are closer to joy, to happiness. And the lower is the fear and anger, right? But we can just, to simplify, we can just classify between love and fear. So love is the highest vibration, and fear, you can say love and hate, to hatred. But actually, when you hate somebody, usually is fear to the unknown. So love and fear. And when you take any decision in your life, you can just think about that. I follow love or I follow fear. And in the middle, there are all these things in the scale. We have seen the types of emotions, so how we work more or less, but it is very useful to understand the types of thoughts and what are best and what are not so good for us. So we can start from for example, useful thoughts that are the ones that are necessary for our life. For example, when you work and you need to think about your work, or when you go to the supermarket and you need to buy the tomatoes, lettuce, whatever. No, this is useful thoughts that are kind of neutral. Then we have the useless that are kind of neutral also, but a little, I mean, it's a little waste of your mental energy. It's like the thoughts that don't give you any value, and just take energy from you, and energy that you could spend in other things. It's not something really bad, but it could be better, right? So for example, television, when we see these, I don't know, TV shows that they are just not really giving any value. Okay, so that is some types of useful and useless. And then we have the positive and the negative. So the positive thoughts are those that give you more energy, that empower you. And a very good example of positive thoughts are the affirmations. The affirmations are sentences that you say in first person, so I, and in present tense. And also it is very important that it is in positive. So for example, if you say, for example, I love myself, no, it is I love myself. I love is not I will love myself. No, it's now I love myself. You could say I don't hate myself. That it would be similar, no? But actually, the thing, our subconscious mind is not located in any particular place. It's all around our brain, our nervous system. Our subconscious mind, first of all, processes the positive things. So, for example, if I tell you, don't think about a pink elephant. Okay, so the first thing do you think about the pink elephant, right? Our subconscious mind processes first the positive thing of the sentence. So if I say I don't hate myself, it will think about hate myself, and then after it adds the note, and probably when it adds the note, it's too late. So it is better to think in positive. So instead of saying I don't want a boyfriend who treats me bad, no, the opposite. You say I want a boyfriend who treats me very well, right? Or a girlfriend. So first person, present tense, and in positive terms. I can do it. I love myself. I love something extraordinary is going to happen to me today. What do you think about that? If you get up every day and say that a few times, the probabilities that something extraordinary is going to happen to you today increases. And also a very good one, I am the best. Okay. For example, I read in a magazine a long time ago that the father of Donald Trump, he told him to look at the mirror every day and say, I am the best. I am a crack. Like the best. And he it worked in a bit weird way, but it worked for him. He got all he has got. So it is to use the affirmations is a good idea, and the more you repeat, you can say it just mentally, but even better if you say verbally, because you are listening to that. And it is probably not a good idea to use the affirmations in front of people, because they will think you are a bit crazy. No, if you are in the street, you say, "I'm the best. I am the best. I can do it. I love myself." No, but if you say private in front of your mirror, it can work well. And Sue has told me it works for her, so I'm good to know that. All right. So now the negative thoughts. All right, negative thoughts. So they are the opposite, the ones that takes power from us, discourage us. So there are ways we can weed them out, right? One way is the number one, that is cut them off instantly. Change that thought for a totally different thought. You don't need to fight against that thought. Just you think about, oh, this bad thing happened, and then you just change the thought for, oh, I'm sure Liverpool will win the next time. For example, Mike would say that he's gone now, but he would say that. Or maybe Stephen, probably he's
no, they're terrible. They're terrible. They got beat today.
I know, Everton, maybe. I know. Sorry. Anyway, second way to deal with the negative thoughts is just to observe them, to label them. For example, you say, oh, it's like you put the thought in front of you, and you see, oh, this is a negative thought. I'm experiencing a negative thought. And just putting the label on it, it is losing the control over you. Just detaching that thought from yourself, because you are not that thought. You are that is a mental construction, but this is not you. The problem is when we identify with our thoughts. Okay, so you just take distance from the thought and put a label. That is another way. Another way, for example, is exaggeration into the ridiculous. For example, if Liverpool lost today and you are sad about that, you can say, oh, and then it will lose the next time, and next time it will finish the end of the Premier League, and we will go to the second, it will be the worst of the, or for example, you say, you go to an interview and it doesn't go very well, and then instead of being sad, you can say, oh no, I will not get the job, and I will not be earn any money, and I will end up under a bridge, and it will be poor. No, so making into the ridiculous also lose the power of of that thought, and it's a similar way. You make it distant from it, just making fun of the thought. And then the fourth one is the counteract the negative with the exact opposite. Okay, so for example, oh, I'm not good enough, and then you counteract, yes, of course I am good enough and I am the best, so just the opposite. The mind can only have one thought at a time. Okay, we have a lot of thoughts, but only one at a time. So if you just changes for the opposite, is another way. All right, so this is a way to control our thoughts. There are I mean, we could talk more about this, but we don't have a lot of time for this session, so this is just a way that I hope it is useful for you. Other ways is something that we saw last week, the 4 agreements. We are just going to talk very briefly about it because we talked about that the last week, and actually I'm going to put the link in the chat, so if you want to watch the video from last week that is online. Then be impeccable with your word, don't take anything personally, don't make assumptions, and always do your best. If you follow these 4 rules in your life, according to this book by Don Manuel Ruiz, and I have put in practice since years ago, and I can tell that they are very useful. More. We're here. Okay. Okay, so we are moving into the second part of the emotional intelligence, that is the interpersonal, you with other people. If you are, as I said, if you learn how to identify your feelings, and then how to control your feelings and your, as I said, more than your emotions, that the emotions comes quickly, is something, the mood, like you can be sad in a moment, but you can choose if to continue being sad or if to start changing your thoughts to go out from that sad feeling. So that is a mood. You can be in a sad mood or in a happy mood, and that is what you can work on the moods. All right. So once you know how to control your moods, it's much better to interact with other people, because maybe somebody tells you something that is not so nice for you, but you use the don't take anything personally rule, and then you can feel better, right? But let's see that in the communication there are many barriers. Let's see first here the transmitter. We have the transmitter and the receptor. So the transmitter first, it is what we want to say. If we are talking with somebody, first of all, we have a mental idea of what we want to say, and then we must find the words to express that, and something probably is lost between what we think and the words that we use. And for example, if you are speaking in a language that is not yours, even more. But also because we also make assumptions in what the other person is thinking or knowing, what the other person knows. So we might be thinking that a person knows something that doesn't know, so we don't tell that. We omit that part, and then that part of the message is lost. Okay, so that is what we want to say, what they actually say with the words, and what say. I mean, what we can say and what we say, because we omit parts. All right, and then once that message come to the receptor, first of all, there might be noises around. So they might not get the full message because of noises, because of, the message doesn't come through completely. Or maybe you are in Zoom and there is a cut off of the communication, something, right? And then it is, well, difficult to avoid. We cannot focus 100% all the time when we are speaking. Sometimes we have distractions. There is the mobile that makes ping, or we look at the watch, or simply we start thinking about other things, and then we'll come back to the conversation. Try to avoid that, because as we will see later, is that you will make the other person think that you are not paying attention, and that is not good, as we will see in a moment. Okay, so and then the noises, the distractions, and then once what we hear is what we understand. First of all, because maybe in the language is different from your language and you might miss some words. And also because, as I said before, the transmitter might think that you know something that you don't know. So that the message comes incomplete. And then you don't get to understand the whole message. And then finally, all that you get to understand, after one day, a week, a month, part of that message in the memory is lost. So all the message that you finally got to get after something is lost along the time. So we need to have into account that there are these losses of communication, because we might think that when we are speaking, that we assume that the other person is understanding everything that we have in our head, and it's not. And then we might get annoyed if that person maybe doesn't do what we asked to do, or these kind of things, right? And well, there are communication barriers, as you know, like lacks of clarity, lacks of prejudices. This word is difficult to pronounce.
Prejudices.
Thank you.
Yes, you're doing it good.
We have the tendency to evaluate, to think with our values and with our beliefs. We filter that message with our prejudices. And then we associate with emotions. For example, if I talk about a relationship, tomorrow is St. Valentine's, and maybe somebody just broke up with their partner, and then when we talk about St. Valentine's, that person feels a bit hurt, and might be, not focus on the conversation, avoid the conversation, memory, and also inappropriate language that we use sometimes, or maybe we use technical language. If I talk about about computing, if I tell you about C++, what is C++, or PHP, some people they say, what are you talking about? Okay, those are programming languages, for example. So if you use technical words with people that they don't know, that also is lost. Let's go ahead. So, as I said before, it's very important to listen first. We have one mouth and two ears, because we should listen twice that we speak. It's very important to listen to the people and to let them know that we are listening, that we are actually paying attention. Because if we, for example, if I'm talking with a person and look at the eyes, that person will feel, there is an eye connection. That person will, this is for example, the observe the interlocutor. Look at the eyes of the person, because if that person is talking to you and you are like this, of course, that person is going to think that you are not listening and is going to lose motivation to keep talking to you. But this not only look at the eyes and just all, it's like try to identify their feelings, identify. Usually the person is talking and then we are thinking about the answer, and then we are just prompt to answer, but just wait until there is the right moment there is a right moment to start talking. Just give that person the chance to talk all they need to talk, and then you keep the question or your comment in your mind, and then when you get the chance, you use it. Okay. Also, it's good to avoid, as you say, don't interrupt the speaker, don't judge, don't be defensive. That is also quite usual, that a person maybe is trying to give you a piece of advice, and then you get defensive, and then you don't want to listen. And so that goes back to the one of the 4 agreements. Don't take anything personally. All right. More, don't offer help or premature solutions. So it is usual, especially men, because we are more than women usually, that we will, if we have a problem, we look for the solution and just we give the solution. But maybe that person just want to be listened, and they just need a person, to that feeling to be understood.
Exactly.
Avoid expressions like that represent rejections or what the person is feeling. For example, you say, "Oh, don't worry, calm down." You are kind of making that person feel that you're not empathizing with that person. You just don't take it that too much seriously. Don't worry, that is nothing.
Yeah.
And of course, avoid the noise or distraction activities. And maybe if it is too noisy or something, and this a very important conversation, is good to arrange for another time, to talk another time. Okay, so also the psychological disposition. The only thing that exists is your interlocutor in that moment. So just focus on the interlocutor, don't stay with the mobile phone, these kind of things. And then not to be thinking what I will say next. I said that before. And to identify the content of the verbal expressions. So just, just process, be completely focused and process all what is saying. Take the time to understand, and if you don't understand, ask questions to clarify and to get the whole idea. That by asking questions, that is also useful for to let the other people, the other person, know that you are paying attention, and to that person will feel more valued. Also, the gestures, the body language is also very important. Well, usually in this course, I talk the elements of communication. To make it more brief, I didn't talk about this, but I will talk briefly. Actually, the words that we say is a very little part of the communication. The biggest part of the communication is the body language. If I say no, what will you believe? Okay. So if there is a contradiction between what you say and your body language always will win. And also the meta language is also a good percentage of the communication. The meta language is, for example, the pauses that you do. If you give pauses when you speak, you let the other person think, and you also, if you speak very quickly, for example, it might look that it might seem that you are very nervous, or the tone or the volume that you speak also is, everything is communicating. Even if you are quiet, that is communicating. So everything is communicating. But especially the body language is very important. So just put a predisposition, like body language. For example, I put like more looking at the person, and my body is more approaching to him, because if I am like this, it's not giving the same message that if I'm listening and looking at that person like this, right? And finally, the words, using expressions like "I see," "well." So you just don't interrupt with the questions or something that much, but you can say, "I see," yes, continue. Or, oh, like that is giving the other person the feeling that you are listening. Also, like paraphrasing, like for example, yes, I went the other day to that place. Ah, you went the other day to that place. Okay, just repeat the last sentence, and that is another way. Or you can summarize what the other person. Okay, the other person is telling you something and say, okay, let me make sure I understood. So you mean that this and this and this? Yes, exactly. Or no, I wanted to mean, I meant this. Okay, so that is useful to clarify. And so yeah, just ask for more information if you need. Just be you don't make assumptions. Don't it's better to ask. It's a good practice to ask. Okay, any questions so far? No? All right. Assertiveness. What is assertiveness? Anybody knows what is assertiveness?
Win-win situations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, is to defend your rights, but at the same time making the other person feel okay with that. And as Sue said, to look for a win-win situation. Because if by default you don't defend your rights, a person maybe is trying to convince you something, you say, okay, I will do it. You are maybe that situation that you are doing is not beneficial for you. That of course it's not good for you. But also, if you are too defensive or like you want to win the discussion, and then you might feel very good. Oh, I'm the best. I gave the best arguments, and but the other person might feel bad. So it's about defending your rights, but that is everything is okay with the situation. So express both positive and negative emotions. So to express your feelings is very important in assertiveness, because if you are telling, for example, imagine that you are working and there is a person near you that is chatting and making noise, and then you tell you tell the person, oh, you are so so inconsiderate. The other person probably will put in the defensive mode and will say, no, I know I'm considerate, and the communication is broken, and you are in there is no way to go out from this defensive way usually. However, if you say, well, because I'm trying to work and you are speaking, I cannot focus. I'm feeling a bit frustrated with this situation. That person cannot say you are not feeling frustrated, because it's your feeling. That person cannot tell you how you are feeling, right? So it's very important to talk about your emotions, both positive and negative, and express a personal point of view, perspective from your point of view. So instead of focus again from the other person, don't put the focus on the other person. Put the focus on you when you communicate, because otherwise the other person might feel affected. Like our ego might feel I have to defend my ego or something. Learn to say no. Sometimes it's good to say no. All right. And then show a genuine interest in personal matters. If you use what we saw just before, you use active listening skills, and you show a real genuine interest, that person will feel valued and will be more willing to keep communicating with you and to reach a win-win situation. Know how to deal with the objections and criticism, but in the more calm you do it, the more calmly, the better. You can talk about many things, but calmly. Defend your personal rights, as we said, and take the initiative, make decisions, and execute them. Okay, so it's good to be proactive, not reactive. Proactive. Well, we will see this briefly because there are more things about assertiveness. I thought we could do it at, separated talking chat another day about focus on assertiveness. So, but I think this topic is very important. So the thing is here is when you are assertive, you are making the other person see that you defend your rights, so that person value, because if you defend your rights, that person will maybe abuse you, So, but also at the same time, being assertive and being considerate with the other person, that person will also feel valued as well. And the underlying system beliefs is that I have the responsibility to protect my own rights. Okay, not only the right, but also it's your responsibility. And I respect others, but not necessarily their behavior. So if you reach a win-win situation and you respect what they say, that doesn't mean that you are agree with them, and that doesn't mean that you support what they are doing. But just it's good to find a way to communicate and try to find a good solution for all. Okay, transactional analysis model. Okay, this looks a bit complicated, right? So this is how, from which position we communicate. The ideal is to communicate from an adult position, but sometimes we play the roles of a parent or a child. So it could be actually a parent and child communication, or it could be a boss and employee communication, but this is like of the archetype. A parent is like the person who has, has the control at that time, and the child is the other part. But a parent, for example, can be a nurturing parent, so it's kind of assertive parent, no? Like tries to find the best solution for the other person from a position of control, but trying to be assertive with that person. Or it can be the critical parent that is just, it tells you, do this, shut up, just pay attention what I say and do that. No, that is the critical parent. Now, this the child. It can be adaptive child that is more obedient, passive, and is asks for permission. So is the more domesticated child, and is the free child like Peter Pan, that is more like a rebel, and it is more like selfish, and just the parent says, please don't play there, and say, I do whatever I want, and so what happens when we behave like, for example, a critical parent, the other person, which is difficult to, might probably behave an adaptive child, or maybe behaving like a critical parent might result in the child start behaving like a rebel. So it is a way to find the middle term, as usual. That is where the virtue is, in the middle term. And when a person starts talking, for example, from like a aggressive point of view, you can always, if you start talking from the adult, then, for example, okay, let me wait a moment. Imagine that person tell, oh, blah, blah. Okay, say, one moment, let me, being assertive. Let me make sure I understood. So you want this? Okay, I'm sorry if I made you feel that. I'm sorry about that. So from now on, let me do in that way. Okay, so you behave as an adult, and then the other person will go and usually to become as an adult as well. Okay, that person is you are being assertive, so that person values you and appreciates that you are being conscious. Say, okay, I see you understood. Okay, let's do that. So behaving as an adult, usually, not always, unfortunately, but usually will make the other person also behave as an adult. Okay. Good. So now, so that was the interpersonal skills, and finally we go to the motivation part. as we said, we can motivate ourselves and also the other people. But in the end, the roots, the base of that is similar. Okay, so what are the 9 qualities to be a good leader? Integrity is to be consistent with what it is said and what it is done. If we say that we are going to do something, better do it, because otherwise you will, next time people will not trust you probably. For example, the politicians sometimes they don't have too much integrity. In Spain right now, it is horrible about this. Self-confidence. To build, well, first of all, to have self-confidence, of course, to have self-esteem and to love yourself. To have self-confidence is very important. Well, for all of this is very important what we saw at the beginning, that is to understand your feelings, to how you work, how your mind working, how your feelings working, and then know how to manage them and handle them. And then that gives you a lot of self-confidence. And also give you, when you achieve things, they give you, of course, more confidence. But anyway, when you are self-confident and you work with other people, you are not the adult that gives you, like a demanding person. No, you work in the more assertive way, and you build peace, and also you bring resilience to you and to the world that is working with you, and transform threats into opportunities. All right. Okay. Now, innovative character. That is to have a kind of an open mind and to think out of the box and try to find solutions for everything, and sometimes thinking out of the box. Flexibility is to be able to change the style, your leadership style, because for a person, for example, if you have an employee who knows how to manage themselves very well, and they know how to use their time, to manage their time, they bring the task done. So you don't need to be demanding with that person. You can behave as a nurturing parent. But if one of your employees or children is like a wild child, and or the employee doesn't do the work or whatever, you need to be a little more demanding. You have to behave, so you need to be flexible on how to work. In the other transactional model that we saw before, you can be flexible and pivot. All right, and then reaction capacity. First of all, when you do a mistake, you assume the mistake, and you can take fast decisions. So this is also very important in leadership, to take fast decisions. Sometimes you follow your intuition, and you might be mistaken sometimes, but usually what your intuition tells you is usually right. Effective communication. We have been seeing this during this chat. So it's to have active listening skills, to be assertive, and to know how to convey your message in the most proper way. To be persuasive, but to be persuasive doesn't mean something bad. To be persuasive, we all in our daily life, we need to be persuasive for everything, to ask for something, but being assertive, persuasive but assertive. And also, if you are working with a team, is to delegate, to know how to delegate. Instead of doing everything by yourself, you find the best qualities of your team, and you can give the qualities, and depending of how is they're managing on managing style in their time. You can be more watching them more, or just giving them more freedom and checking the progress. But also giving them the proper instructions, what you want. Use the communication. Remember, don't get the idea that they know what you know. Just give all the communication that they need, and use the magic words, that is to say thank you. All right, so with this, I have finished my dissertation.
Hey.
And now it's turn for the questions and answers, if you have.
Okay. Well, I've seen a transitional analysis once before at a different stage, but I was told that the ideal is to speak in the not in the child, but in the adult. But you know, but if you're continually in the adult, it's a bit boring, isn't it? You know, the child sometimes wants to come out and play. You know, or sometimes the adult wants to say, yeah. So, but I remember being told that in many situations you want to draw towards the center. Would you agree?
Yes, I understand your point. Well, I think it's a kind of a different sense what you mean, but I mean I get your point. And indeed, as you say, being an adult always is boring, and actually to have that spirit of a child is the best we can do for our mental health and everything. Is to keep that, you know, like when we are a child, we don't have prejudices. We wonder about the things, we ask questions, we try things, we experiment.
Yeah.
We don't make assumptions, and we enjoy more life. We just are open for everything. So in that sense, yes, I encourage you, all of you, to be a child always you can. Sometimes you have responsibilities and you have to be an adult, a parent, but as much as you can, keep being a child. Yes, good point.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments?
Thank you, Stefan, for this fabulous presentation.
Yeah.
It's great. I wish I had attended the last one. This is my first time in this meeting, in this session. So I'm very happy to, it's a very motivating presentation. Well, I have one question, which is what are the outside things, the outside factors? Okay, do you hear me?
I think so, yes. The outside factors, you said?
Yeah, that can help us strengthen our emotional intelligence, interpersonal intelligence.
Okay, thank you, Yassine. Well, thank you for your words before, and also for your question. Well, first of all, I mean, we are. It is very important to know that we create from our inside world. We have two worlds: the world inside us, our mind, with what we think. Actually, I had another. I think I forgot to put this one. Let me check if I have it here. All right. Okay. So, depending on how we think, we have a situation, and each of us is responsible about how we think about that situation. So, in the same situation, a person can be angry, and another person can be kept calm, you know. And depending on how we think, that will make us feel in a different way. So that internal dialogue that we always have this, our interior world here in our mind that we think and we'll constantly have thoughts. Usually are automatic, and but of course we have control on our thoughts, and we can when we have a thought that is the usual thought that we have always the chance to we have like a for example, okay, let me. Imagine you have it's a situation, and then you have this thought. Okay, it's a continuous, and a situation and a reaction. But imagine there is a gap. So imagine there is a situation, but in the gap you can say, wait a moment, stop. I will think how I want to react to this situation. I want to react as usual or as it is expected in the society. I should get angry, or maybe I should react or proact in a different way. So you always have this gap from a situation to what you think and what you decide to think, and consequently how you can feel. And depending on how you feel, you act in a way, and depending on how you act, then you have, well, you think because then you have an outcome depending on how you act, and then you think about that outcome, and you have a different situation. So it's all in the interdependent. So of course, if it is like you are living in a place where there is a war in your country, it's difficult it's not easy to be happy, but it is possible to try to process in a different way. And of course, to have a war is a radical, extreme situation, but it can be any other different situation that is softer, right? So you have the decision of how you want to think about that, and then depending on that how you feel, etc. And now read this if you can. Thoughts leads to acts. Okay, our thoughts leads to acts. Acts lead to habits. So when we act in a way for a period of time, that becomes a habit. We can change the habits. It's possible, but we need to. It is said that you need like 3 weeks, like 21 days around, to change a habit. If you focus, okay, I will do now differently for 3 weeks, and every time you have this situation, so when you have a habit, that habit or a set of habits create a character. So your character, you as a person, your character is created by your beliefs, your values, your habits. Okay, and then the character will determine our eternal destiny. Like how you do the things in general, your values, your the kind of actions that you take will determine your destiny. Where you are going to end up in your life. But that starts with your thoughts. From the very first thought that you have, that is the root of your destiny. Okay, so when external things happen to you, you just have the decision, can have the decision, and actually your responsibility to decide how to act. Of course, some situations are better than others, but the thing is that if you change inside, I mean, if you want to change something outside, you start from inside, because your internal world creates your external world in the end. I mean, probably not immediately, but you take the decision, for example, the kind of people you want to hang out, the kind of vibration you want to be, in the situation, people, you want to be more closer to love or to fear, which vibration, which frequency you want to be. And then when you take in a daily basis the decisions and consciously, that will finally usually determine your life. I don't know if I have answered your question.
Yes, of course you did. Thank you so much.
Okay, to know that. Thank you. By the way, I'm going to take advantage to do some advertising. Let me check. But in this case, the Quantum Life University. Okay, this is all the social networks that we have. Here on YouTube channel, you can find the videos.
Okay.
All right. So if there is not any more questions, we can just finish here. Thank you very much.